We have thousands of people who go missing every year, just here in the United States, and there's no discrimination on the missing. They are young, old, black, white, male or female, even children. It's time to stop. Miracles is still missing, and they've not found any new clues. It's women who are pregnant, it's women who have jobs, and it's women who have not seen even fetal abductions. Have you seen me? Welcome to my channel, everyone. Thank you so much for caring. Hello everyone, welcome to Chasing a Murder Talking News, and today we have some very good news. It's been news we've been waiting on for we're approaching 2 years on the Lori Vallow case. I want to ask you to subscribe and hit the notification bell right now. So we're going to get right into it. Lori, who has been known as Lori Ryan, Lori Vallow, and Lori Daybell, is a mother of 3. And in 2019, we get these shocking media details of 2 children that have gone missing. As the months passed by, the story became more and more bizarre. We start hearing about these deaths that surround this one woman who was an LDS member and had started her own group preparing for the second coming. Not long after that, you find out that recently her husband had been shot, her 4th husband, and that she had married a new guy who had just lost his wife, Chad Daybell, 2 weeks earlier. Her name was Tammy Daybell. This was a very strange situation because Tammy Daybell had no signs of having any health issues. And now this woman, this mother of 3, her husband has been shot. He was shot in self-defense by her brother. And her new husband had just lost his wife 2 weeks earlier. Now they're married and they are living the life in Hawaii. But a grandmother of one of her children, JJ Vallow, didn't give up on finding this little boy that meant so much to her, Kay Woodcock. And she is the grandmother of JJ Vallow. And she is also the sister of Lori Vallow's 4th husband that had been shot. Charles Vallow had warned Kay that he was worried about Lori's recent behavior and that she had seemed to become quite nutty. She was threatening his life, and he felt that even the children's lives might be in danger. After Charles passed away, Kay Woodcock became concerned, and she tried to reach out to JJ but just didn't have any success. And a long story short, ended up they never could find the 2 children. They gave Lori and Chad a small amount of time to produce children. They refused to do so, and then later on, after she was arrested, they find the 2 children on Chad Daybell's property in the summer of 2020. And we have gone on for months and years wondering if there was going to be murder charges because there was so much chaos and so much death surrounding these people. Well, Rob Wood, the prosecuting attorney for this case, was dealing with defense attorneys that were doing their job. That's their job, to create chaos and make it difficult to press forward with charges. Well, we're going to see how they're going to do now, because what we're finding out today, Justine Lum from Fox 10 News posted some breaking news. And it reads, breaking. Special Prosecutor Rob Wood announces grand jury indictment of Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow in the deaths of J.J. Vallow, Tylee Ryan, and Tammy Daybell. They are accused of murder in the first degree, including other serious charges that I have not found right now, which we have to wonder if that's going to be like premeditation. But first degree murder charges are the most serious charges one can receive. And how many of us have been waiting on this? So I knew they were coming. I actually didn't expect them today. I expected them a few months from now. But there was many of us who were out there who were giving up hope. They were wondering if charges were going to come at all. And if I'm stuttering a bit, guys, that's because I'm going free here. I don't have anything pre-written. Not to mention, I'm extremely excited to hear Tammy Daybell's name pop up there. That says a lot for me. It says that there's a possibility that they're going to be able to prove that at least one of them was murdered. And that, so that one name might have some things connected to it that can better prove that these two are murderers. So right now we're hearing from Justin Lum that this is murder charges, not conspiracy to murder. As many of us expected, we expected conspiracy to murder, because when Alex Cox passed away back in December 12th, we felt like he had a lot to do with what went on with this case, though not proven. But we don't have all the facts on that, but we suspected that he might have a big role to play in the disappearances of so many people, because we know that he was the one that took Charles Vallow's life. So very, very interesting indeed. Is Tammy going to be the one? We keep hearing about these past lives and how they speak about zombies and demons and evil, and how when they pass away, these spirits can still work behind the veil. So they're still living. They're still got jobs that they can do. Maybe Tammy Daybell is doing a job for these two children. We know that Charles Vallow, too, was most likely murdered, but we don't know exactly what's going on with that. If that's still pending, I think it is. I think they're still investigating Charles Vallow. But I also feel like police didn't really investigate and take, they didn't do a very professional job with that one. Maybe later charges will show up for him, and that can, I can take those words back. But has Tammy been working behind the veil to bring justice for her and those two children? And for those of you, if you're just catching on and you don't know what behind the veil is, it's kind of like a curtain that separates the mortal life from the spirit world. And you can watch my series and learn more about that. I'm not going to go into details here. And that series is called Life Beyond the Grave. Right now we are hearing that there are first degree murder charges, not conspiracy to murder. But we don't have the documents actually detailing exactly what these charges are right now. If anyone is able to get their hands on those documents, please let me know where I can obtain these. I would really appreciate it. So let's talk about Tammy Daybell, because I know a lot of people, they love the two children. They're very, they're in support of their justice, but the whole time I'm in support of every one of them. So, and Tammy Daybell, I've hoped, would be the key to justice. I just can't imagine what her family is going to be going through, especially today once they hear this, because this is going to basically give them the idea that there's a possibility that their dad did something to their mother, or at least was involved with it. And so these kids have lost their mother, and now they're going to have to watch for however long it takes. They've already gone through it for nearly 2 years now. Their father be proven guilty of murder. Now we know that Lori Vallow has run out of money. She's been out of money, guys. It's not nothing new. She's been out of money. But it's creeping out that Chad Daybell, I guess, isn't wanting to put up any more funds for Lori Vallow. That's what it seems like. But Chad, too, seems to be running low on money. And a lot of us know of that deal that he made with his attorney, Mr. Pryor, where he made a deal to sign over his house as payment of some kind, which, in my opinion, is very a crappy thing to do for an attorney to do. But in these days and times, this is becoming more acceptable. So it's the perfect timing. We thought, oh great, now we can get rid of Means, right? Means is going to no longer support Lori if she doesn't have the funds for it. Well, what we're hearing is that he's going to continue to stay on, no longer as her private attorney, but being paid by the state. Making about $80 an hour is what I'm hearing. I haven't had time to research this, so this is just me talking about what I know right now. I've known about it for a while. I just didn't really, I've been working on this series so much, I haven't had time to do the extras. So Mark Means wants to stay on this case. So it seems that Mark Means really enjoys the attention. That's the only thing I can think of. Or is he in love with his client? It doesn't make sense to me how desperate he is to be on this case. Now, he can say it's because I believe my client is innocent, but the whole world can see that Lori Vallow had her whole entire life, mostly her adult life, after having Tylee, has always been quite unstable mentally. She has had some very irrational acts against people in her life. And she has had so many witnesses stand to say, you know, how unstable her mental state is. So he's out to prove her innocence, and this has become personal for him. And he's a lot like Lori. I can tell. He will do anything to win, even if it's going to be something unethical. Because we know that Mark Means has already posted very unethical things on Twitter, calling out some of the witnesses of this case rats, running like rats. He's tried to have Rob Wood pulled off the case because he didn't like something Rob Wood said to him. I can tell you, besides OJ, the OJ defense attorneys, Mark Means is probably on top of that list now of defense lawyers that are scummy, in my opinion. And I try not to mention his name often, but I will in this video, but you won't hear me mention his name very often after this unless I have to, because he is an attention hog, is what I gather. So Mark Means remains on Lori's case. She doesn't have to get a different attorney. If she had to take the attorney, well, they would have to start things all over. So that attorney would have to start from the very beginning. And so that would hold things back. Okay, so what is jury indictment? Okay, sorry. It's grand jury indictment of Chad Daybell and Lori Daybell Vallow, meaning there is probable cause to bring these charges. So why a grand jury indictment? So what I'm learning, I'm not a lawyer, of course. A lot of times this is kind of a rare case where one is actually trialed, or I don't know the proper wording even. Okay, where the state needs to use a grand jury, and this is due to the complexity of a case, just how well known the case is overall, so the total gravity of the case. Also, it might be because of the practical difficulties associated with pursuing a trial. We know that there are several states involved with this case, so it's going to be so incredibly difficult to deal with already. Of course, they're worried about, this being a fair trial all the way around. So this is what I'm going to share with you, what I'm learning about the grand juries in Idaho. So grand juries have been a feature of the court system of the United States since colonial times. They're basically the remnants of a still order court system of the medieval England. They've garnered criticism for decades due to their secrecy and because the defendant is not allowed to be present or present evidence at the grand jury proceedings. So in Idaho, because each state is different, according to the Idaho, if I can get it out, so the Attorney General at the Idaho office says in Idaho, the grand jury is made up of 16 people, but only 12 need to agree to secure an indictment. In an article in East Idaho News, it says that grand juries are rarely used in eastern Idaho. When a prosecutor wishes to have one convened, jurors are summoned to the courthouse on a specific date and time. A judge presides over a panel of jurors, and frequently there are no attorneys except for the prosecutor, who displays evidence and calls witnesses. Quote, a grand jury's focus is to determine what charges are levied against an individual after determining there is a probable cause that a crime was probably committed and the defendant probably committed it, says Bonneville County Prosecuting Attorney Daniel Clark. A grand jury is composed of 16 members, and for someone to be indicted by a grand jury, 12 members must agree, which we've learned. This is very interesting. So the jurors can view almost any kind of evidence they want and ask questions of witnesses. Grand jury proceedings are held in a strict confidence and are closed to the public so witnesses can speak freely and allow the suspect to be protected if charges are not filed. Clark says, quote, the prosecutor puts on the evidence to the grand jury, but in the purest form. The grand jury acts as a fact finder and asks questions of the witnesses. A grand jury is beneficial in some ways as hearings are sealed from public and sensitive victims, including children, and are in much more controlled environments when they testify, end quote. So for us, following this story is going to make it very difficult for us to know what's going on. But because of the religion involved with this and the witnesses attached to that religion and belief system, it might make them feel more comfortable to come forward and be able to testify without having to worry what people will think or for their safety. So I'm confused right now. I want them to feel comfortable, but I also want to know what's going on, right? And I know you feel the same. So if the grand jury decides to indict, the suspect is charged, and the case advances directly to the district court for trial. If the grand jury does not issue indictments, the prosecutor can still charge a suspect, but the case will begin in magistrate court. Of course, they would climb the ladder again, starting with preliminary hearings. So it sounds like this is just the beginning of bringing those murder charges. We still have a ladder to climb, guys. Lord knows that the family members on both sides of this process have been living this case. They're not just following the case, they're living this case. So it's been a nightmare. We have people that have lost so much with this case, more than usual. A lot of cases that I cover, there are so many losses and so many families involved. It also involves, and it will involve larger number of people because it is kind of attached through their religion. So the people who are LDS members are also being drugged through this in some way. They're scared, to see what is going to be said about something that they believe in, that they feel that these people have drugged through the mud, and that their belief system is really hurting their future, their friends, everybody. For Kay Woodcock, she's got to live with the fact that she still has a fight ahead of her. And she has to do it for her brother and for her grandson. For her, she's probably still dealing with nightmares and having those hard days that are just difficult to get by. She probably still has people reaching out to her, taking advantage of her for the story. She's having to walk into her house every day and see pictures of somebody that is just a remnant. Annie Cushion, realizing now that she was too a victim. Colby Ryan, he was a victim as well. And then you have the Daybell children who were also victims in this plan of Chad Daybell. You have to wonder, are they coming awake now? Are they realizing what their father, who he really was, and how dark his plans were? They've lost their parents. They're losing their property. Things for them are just as bad. So guys, I'll go into more with this, but I'm just grateful to see that murder charges, they're coming at them. And I think Tammy Daybell is going to be the guardian angel to everyone who has lost to this woman and this man. So don't forget, we still have missing faces out there, guys. Don't forget to leave comments below of how you feel. What do you think about this grand jury trial? What do you think about so much? And I put this together so fast, guys. Thank you, Justin Lum, for sharing that with us. And hopefully he'll have documents soon. Love you guys. See you soon.